Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Get Decked, the video series where I make budget Magic the Gathering decks for casual game nights or to introduce friends or family to the game. In this episode we're going to look at Daywalkers, which is a white and red deck. So this is kind of fun, this idea I had that I wanted to do. So let's take a look at the rules first before we get into it. We have a budget of $30 or less at time of recording. The deck's 60 cards, designed for 2-player games. We have no format restrictions. We aim for a low to mid complexity, so it's ideal for newer players. And just because it's a casual deck doesn't mean it has to be weak or bad. Let's get on with it. So we've got the deck list here. So we've got 27 creatures, 23 land, 3 instants, 7 sorceries. We've got a mana curve off to the side there, and let's get into it and see how we're going to win. So, it's red-white vampires, and this idea I had that I really wanted to kind of explore because obviously, vampires are iconically in black, but with Innistrad and Ixalan, we have obviously a bunch of vampires in red and a bunch of vampires in white, and I thought it'd be really fun just to combine them together, so do a non-black vampire deck, and I think it's going to work pretty well. So, we're kind of red-white aggro weenie, which is fairly straightforward. We got a bunch of very cheap aggressive creatures, and that's how we're going to win. We're just going to swarm the board with a bunch of small angry vampires and just keep attacking relentlessly and just win that way. Just hopefully try and do it as quickly as possible. So we've got 4 Volder and Epicure, which is 1 red mana for a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, it does 1 damage to each opponent, and you create a blood token. So a lot of value out of this card, I think, for only 1 red mana. I like that it comes in, does this kind of 1 point of burn damage, and making the blood token is really nice as well. That interacts with a card we've got later, but also, we're playing kind of red-white weenie aggro. We're kind of going to hit a point, I think, where we just have lands in hand that we don't need anymore, so we can use a blood token to discard a card we don't need and draw a card and hopefully kind of like refuel a little bit. I think Volder and Epicure is really nice little 1-drop for the deck. We've got 4 Martyr of Dusk, 1 white for a 2/1. When it dies, it makes a vampire creature token that has lifelink. We've got a bunch of effects in the deck that make these little lifelink vampire tokens, as you'll see. So, it's just so we can just keep stuff on the board and kind of keep attacking. We've got 3 Falconwrath Perforator, 1 in red for a 2/1. Whenever it attacks, does 1 damage to defending player. I love little red creatures like this that still do that essentially ping when they attack. So it's just nice, even if it gets blocked, it's still going to do at least 1 point of damage that gets through. So we've got quite a few ways of doing indirect damage in the deck as well, just in case an opponent for some reason has ways to block all our vampires, or they've got big beefy things that we can't outmuscle. We can still sneak damage through in some way. We've got 2 Falconwrath Marauders, so this is kind of like the biggest vampire in the deck, and it's kind of where our curve tops off at. So 3 in double red for a 2/2 with flying and haste. When it deals combat damage to a player, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So it is expensive at 5 mana for only a 2/2 flyer. Does get to swing straight away though, which is something. And if it does get through, it gets 2 counters. It's just going to then keep getting bigger and becoming more of a problem. Hopefully we should have won or nearly won by the time we cast it, or casting this will be the final turn we swing with this. It's kind of here just as I don't think we necessarily need it, but it's just here to have just maybe a little bit of muscle. But it is fragile until it starts to get going, I think. We've got 2 Maverick Fine, the Dusk Apostle, 2 and a white for a 2/2. Whenever 1 or more non-vampires you control attack, non-token vampires you control attack, make another vampire creature token with lifelink. So that's nice. Again, our attacking vampires are just going to generate more vampires, which is, I think, pretty cool. And yeah, I think that just works out pretty well. And then we've got 3 Queen's Commission, 2 and a white sorcery, makes 2 of those vampire tokens which have lifelink. So again, just more ways of getting loads of stuff on the board, go really wide, and then just keep swinging. And we've got actually quite a few things with lifelink as well, so we're getting a bunch of life as well to sort of keep us in the game. So what helps us win? So these are ways that we can support our kind of more aggressive win condition vampires. So we've got 3 Dusk Legion Duelist, so 1 white for a 2/2 with Vigilance. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on it, you draw a card, but only triggers once per turn. So over the next few pages, we have got some cards that do put +1/+1 counters on our vampires, so make our weaker ones permanently stronger. This is a way of just turning it into card draw and just giving us a bit more fuel during the game. So yeah, I think that's important and I think that'll help us out. 3 Glorifier of Suffering, so 2 and white for a 3/2. When it ends the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. I think that works pretty well here because we've got a bunch of tokens. We've got we've got the vampire tokens that we've got a bunch of cards generate, or even the blood token from the Epicure. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. So I think for like 3 mana, this is doing lots of 3s on its own. It's also spreading out to +1/+1 counters. I think that's pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty good. I think for sort of minimal investment. And then 3 Sanguine Glorifier, 3 and a white for a 3/3. When it ends the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on another target vampire you control. So it's just another kind of variant of Glorifier of Suffering, really. Yeah, just with slightly higher toughness, but yeah, it's a no sacrifice required. So I think yeah, both of them have their place here. We've got 3 Rakish Air, which is kind of like I'd say one of the one of the key cards in the deck that we definitely want to get out. We should probably actually maybe push to have 4 in here as well because I think it's so essential. But yeah, it's fine. If you build this deck, obviously do whatever you want with it. So 2 in a red for a 2/2. Whenever a vampire you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So really nice. To drop this obviously pre-combat, swing with a bunch of vampires. Some might die, but the ones that get through then get a counter. They're stronger, and if they've got if it's the Dust Legion Duelist, then you're getting a card draw out of it. But yeah, so this is a nice way of making sure our smaller vampires, if they do get through and connect, at least get stronger and hard to deal with later in the game. And you have multiple Rakish Airs out, then you're just in for a good time there. And then 3 Vampiric Fury, which is I think a fantastically good pump spell. So 1 in red, instant speed, vampire creatures you control get +2/+0 and gain first strike to end turn. I always originally assumed it was like attacking vampire creatures, but it's not. It's not reliant on attacking or defending. So it is actually useful when you're being attacked as well. You could make all your vampires into really decent blockers by making them giving your whole board +2/+0 and first strike, which obviously makes them a real nightmare to attack into. But obviously this is better, I think, on offense as well. Like a board wide buff, give +2/+0 and first strike for only 2 mana, I think is absolutely fantastic. This affects every creature in the deck. So yeah, you can have some really big blowouts by playing this card. Really swing a combat in your favor with this. And then we have to talk about obviously what stops our opponent winning, what ways we've got to disrupt what they're doing. So we've only got 4 Ripper parts, and this is doing a lot of heavy lifting in the deck, I think. So we've only got 4 cards to do it. But Ripper part I think is decently versatile. 1 red and 1 white, sorcery speed, which is a little unfortunate. But it either does 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker, or you destroy an artifact and charm. So it does have that versatility, I suppose. It is hampered obviously by its sorcery speed, but it is also fairly cheap as well, I suppose, which is kind of what we want in this deck. We want to be essentially playing something almost every turn anyway. So having a cheap card that is fairly versatile is okay, I think. So what stops us winning? Obviously we're playing red-white, kind of go wide, weenie aggro, so any kind of sweeper is like a real pain. So there is always the risk of overextending, and maybe a sweeper comes down and we just can't recover from it. So we've got to always walk that fine line between how wide do we go and how much do we keep in reserve, just in case we have to deal with really efficient kill spells just wiping out a whole board of vampires. So that's something to consider, I think. I'd say the main problem. And also, like, I know we've got like some things that add +1/+1 counters, but our creatures are fairly small. We want to win fast, I think. We don't want to play the long game here. We potentially could, but it's not the main goal. I think we want to try and win as quickly as possible. So got to be really, really aggressive. So anything that stops us being aggressive, like really big blockers, something like that's a really big problem. So that's a potential issue there, I suppose. Well, I would love to hear what you think of this deck of red-white vampire tribal. Stick a comment below, your comments on the deck if there's anything you would change, or if you think you have a friend or family member who might enjoy playing this deck. I'll stick a link to the deck list down below as well, so you can take a look at that. But yeah, I'll be back next time with another budget casual Magic the Gathering deck. So until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.